Hello. Yeah, we very much welcome all of you to the press conference under the title Global Resistance Against Gas. We are very delighted to see many faces, journalists here in the room. We are also live in the live stream, and yeah, also welcome all of you who watch us online. So again, very much welcome to the press conference here, Global Resistance Against Gas. In the last days, hundreds of climate activists from all over the world came to Vienna and are currently turning Vienna into a hub of global resistance against gas. With our announced protests, we were able to successfully prevent the major lobby meeting of the gas companies, the European Gas Conference, that was planned for the coming days in Vienna. The gas lobby has been influencing European and global energy politics for decades and is preventing the phase out of fossil fuels, and that all just to increase their profits. We will continue to oppose the fossil fuel industry and companies that are burning our future. Climate crisis and ecosystems are passing tipping points. Energy poverty and conflicts over resources are escalating. The gas industry lobby continues to drive all these developments while making record profits. So what we demand and what were the outcomes of the People Summit that was happening in this location and other locations around in the past 3 days is a democratic control over the big energy companies. A proper plan that we create commonly for a just transition to renewables and a massive reduction in energy consumption, independent of profit and lobbying interests. So a just energy system must be a democratic energy system, ecological, affordable, and safe. As I just said, at the People's Summit that took place over the past 3 days in this location, we, the many groups of the global movement for climate and social justice, came together and discussed those alternatives. The summit showed that people all over the world are united in their demands for global justice and the socially and ecologically just restructuring of the energy supply and overall system. So many of the climate activists who traveled to Vienna are fighting against new gas projects whose devastating consequences directly affect them. So I'm very delighted to introduce the speakers of this press conference that will share the demands and insights about their work. Just organizational-wise, I'm Max Hollweg. I speak for the People's Summit team and Attac Austria today, and I'm happy to moderate this press conference. And I will now quickly introduce the following speakers. We will then do a short round of statements from each of the speakers, and afterwards you will have time to ask questions. And also it's possible to ask questions via the online chat in the live stream. So on the very left, I am very happy to welcome Jan Aigner from Fridays for Future Upper Austria, who is today speaking on behalf of the Citizens Initiative against the gas drilling in Molln in Upper Austria. Next to Jan is Lölja Nordic, climate activist and co-founder of the feminist anti-war resistance in Russia. Next to me, I'm very happy to introduce Chief Namok, Hereditary Chief for the Tsayu and land defender against the LNG pipelines in the so-called Canada. To my right, Amina Guggenbichler, the spokesperson for the BlockGas Alliance. Next to Bhebhe, co-founder of Don't Gas Africa campaign. Next to Dean Chloe Torres, an anti-LNG activist and part of the Texas campaign for the environment in the US. And on the very Marian is a climate justice activist against the OMV project Neptune Deep in Romania. I would start on the left, and Jan is going to read a statement, and you are going to do it in German, right? Yeah, okay.
So, hello, I'm representing the Pro Natur Steyrtal, the local citizenship initiative, and I will read the statement now. Wir leben in einer Zeit multipler Krisen. Pandemie, Wirtschaftskrise, Inflation, Energiekrise. Krieg vor den Toren Europas. Darüber schwebt wie ein Damoklesschwert die Klimakrise. Erderhitzung, Biodiversitätskrise. Es gibt keine einfachen Lösungen und uns wird mit jeder neuen wissenschaftlichen Erkenntnis schmerzhaft bewusst, dass wir viele Prozesse zu wenig verstehen, um belastbare Aussagen für die Zukunft zu treffen. Über eine wissenschaftliche Tatsache wissen wir jedoch sehr gut Bescheid. Die Ursachen des Klimawandels. Jeder hier weiß, dass wir den Ausstoß von CO2 reduzieren müssen und niemand muss studiert haben, um zu verstehen, dass uns eine Erschließung von neuen Gasfeldern diesem Ziel nicht näher bringt. Jetzt bohrt eine australische Firma in Molln trotzdem nach Gas, direkt neben einem Naturschutzgebiet im Vorfeld des Nationalpark Kalkalpens. Der Bohrplatz liegt in einem Seitental eines ohnehin schon spärlich besiedelten Tals. Niemand, der von Molln Richtung Nationalpark Kalkalpen fährt, würde in der idyllischen Landschaft Industrie vermuten. Und doch steht mitten in der Naturlandschaft nach 15 Kilometern einspuriger Straße ein Bohrturm. Im kleinen Molln, im kleinen Oberösterreich, wird jetzt Weltpolitik verhandelt. Ist es legitim, jahrzehntelange Naturschutzbemühungen und die Schaffung eines Verbundes an Naturschutzgebieten über den Haufen zu werfen, für eine recht unwahrscheinliche Möglichkeit, ein bisschen unabhängiger von Gasimporten zu werden? Wie können wir weiter fossiles Gas fördern, trotz des überwältigenden wissenschaftlichen Konsens, dass es einen schnellstmöglichen Ausstieg aus fossilen Energiequellen benötigt? Darf eine australische Firma aus Profitinteressen die Möglichkeit schmälern, unsere Klimaziele zu erreichen? Molln ist eine kleine Bühne für die großen Fragen unserer Generation. Aber im Großen wie im Kleinen gilt, wenn wir uns nicht gemeinsam für eine lebenswerte und nachhaltige Zukunft ohne fossile Energien einsetzen, werden wir in wenigen Jahrzehnten auf einem sehr heißen, sehr instabilen und sehr gefährlichen Planeten leben. Die Bürgerinitiative Pro Natur Steyrtal wird sich deshalb auch in Zukunft gegen diese und alle eventuell folgenden Bohrungen einsetzen.
Okay, thanks a lot. Next I will give the mic to Lölja.
Yes, thank you very much. I am going to speak in English because I don't know German. So it's a great honor for me to attend this People's Summit. I have been living in Austria just 1 year and a half after fleeing Russia because I couldn't stay there no longer. If I stayed there for some short amount of time, I would be imprisoned for many years for my feminist activism, for my environmental activism, and most importantly, for my activism against Putin's criminal regime. For me, it was very important to meet so many different people and to learn about so many different struggles around the world. I think it's amazing and crucial to learn how in the countries who are promoting democracy, there are still a lot of oppression, and environmental activists and human rights activists are being criminalized and being punished by government for their work. And my biggest message on this summit was to put a spotlight on the crimes of Putin's regime, to show how fossil fuel industry made Putin regime as strong as possible, and to show how, despite of sanctions, Putin's regime is still able to export fossil fuels around the world, to gain enormous amount of money, to continue crimes against Ukraine, to continue crimes against Russian citizens, to grow this authoritarian regime that is established in Russia and which is very quickly turning into dictatorship. And I'm privileged to be here with you today because a lot of people in Russia are imprisoned and facing tortures for their activism. Some of them are being murdered while being imprisoned or arrested. And the level of repression is growing day by day. And another important message for me in this summit, from me in the summit, is to destroy the myth of Russian propaganda and there are many myths that Russian propaganda tries to send to the world, and one of them is how Russian regime appropriates decolonial discourse, how Russian regime try to sell the image of Russia as an anti-colonial, anti-imperialistic power, as a opposition to USA imperialism, which is complete bullshit, sorry for this word, because Putin and Putin's regime is an imperialistic regime, is a colonial regime, and for us who has been living under this regime for 24 years of Putin's reign, it's very clear how Putin has been torturing and oppressing indigenous people in Russia, how Kremlin has been using indigenous lands and national republics of Russia to exploit these territories, to exploit indigenous people, to get these fossil fuels which are now exported outside. So I'm happy to be here, and it's a great honor to be around these amazing people.
Next one, Chief Namok. Thank you very much.
Denny Zayyu, Sakai Zayyu, Sky Zay. As stated, I am Chief Namok. I am the highest ranking chief of the Beaver Clan of the Wet'suwet'en Nation. I am a hereditary chief. Do not confuse us with elected officials. The name I carry is thousands of years old. Our duty is to the land, the air, the water, and those who survive and need it for daily living. And this is why we came here. I came with my relatives of the Gitsan Nation. To my left here is Hapalaksa of the Fireweed clan of the Gitsan. To my right here, Guilugum Gabu, and he is of the Gitsan Nation of the Bear Wolf clan. We've come here to be with people that are like-minded and like-hearted, to tell the world that the oil and gas industry is destroying this planet. Do you know that when they canceled that conference, a gas conference, they said there was a perceived threat? Do you know the oil and gas industry is not a perceived threat? It is an absolute threat. When they cancel, that means that the people's voices are being heard. You know, our country of Canada holds this great reputation around the world as being a peaceful, welcoming, democratic country, and it's not true. They burn down our houses. They throw us in jail. They destroy our rivers, our lands, our future of our children, and your children too, because what they do affects everybody on this planet. This is why we're here, to share this message, that when these industries are controlling governments, as our relative here from Russia said, it is propaganda and people should not believe it. Truth is what we came here to tell. Truth is what we heard, and truth is what you must listen to. Each one of you have power, each one of you have a voice. All we ask is that you speak up for what is happening here at this summit. Listen to that truth, spread that word. Deny that propaganda that is out there. Our people, the Gitsan and Wet'suwet'en, we have 55,000 square kilometers of territory that we control. We are non-treaty, we are unceded. We are the land. When you hear Canada talking about Crown land, that does not exist on our territories. We had to prove that we exist in the Supreme Court of Canada. That decision was a Delgamuukw court case, settled December 11th, 1997. And it states that we are the authority on the land. And yet, the gas industry comes in and controls the government and thinks they have the right to control who we are. We want to promise your children and everybody on this planet the same promise that was given to us by our grandparents, that we will live this earth in better condition than we were born to. And yet it is governments and industry that want to break that promise that our grandparents give to us, that we promise to your grandchildren. You must stand up, you must be heard, you must be seen, and you must be united. We are the Wet'suwet'en, we are the Gitsan, we are peaceful, but we will stand up for what is right, and we ask all of you to do that too. Masai Kyo.
Thanks a lot. Next one, Amina.
Hi. The European Gas Conference is a meeting ground for fossil corporations, CEOs, investors, and lobby groups. The fossil industry comes together to sign up fossil gas deals and to discuss about a fossil future. All this happens behind closed doors in an undemocratic, intransparent way. That's why we decided to be loud against the European Gas Conference in Vienna. We want to protest against colonialism, capital, and its lobbyists. All these big concerns, such as OMV, Shell, or BP, and so many more, are generating record profits on people's and nature's costs. They don't care about a sustainable, fair, and democratic energy system. So we decided to make our protest visible for the society, because it can't happen that the fossil industry regenerates profits on people's costs while coming up with greenwashing strategies. It doesn't matter where the gas import or export happens. Clean gas is a lie and damages our future. That the organizer of the European Gas Conference shifted the date is a big success for the climate movement and for BlockGas. It shows us that our protest from the last year has an effect, and that the lobbyists are scared about their profit. It doesn't matter. We're still loud and we still like to protest. Our protest continues on Wednesday at the big demonstration against the gas lobby. We hope to see many people at the demonstration against the fossil gas lobby. We also like to build connections to international climate movements, and we are still working out strategies together, because we want to be loud against this fossil gas lobby in Vienna. And it's not the end, it's clear. Our protest doesn't end just because the date of the European Gas Conference has shifted. There is still a fossil gas industry outside, and we have to be loud against it. Doesn't matter how. We definitely won't be quiet till the end of the fossil industry happens. Thanks.
Thanks a lot. Next one, Dean.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Dean. From the Don't Gas Africa campaign, which is a coalition of civil society organizations across Africa to ensure that the continent is not locked in fossil gas production. We come here together at a time when the European Gas Conference has been postponed, which is a small win, a win that reminds us that we should keep fighting, a win that reminds us that we will not be silenced, a win that reminds us that fossil fuels have no place in our future. African countries cannot continue to be at the mercy of the fossil fuel industry. As a result, we have been drenched into an extractive model that has destroyed our economic systems and resulted in food and energy insecurity, poverty, socio-economic exclusion, and conflicts, as well as economic and ecological destruction. African economies, as a result of the fossil fuel industry, have been locked at the bottom of the global value chain since the colonial times. And Africa cannot continue to be the continent that just simply provides cheap raw materials for other nations to feed their industrial development. We cannot continue to be the consumers of other nations' industrial output. And we cannot continue to be the dumping ground for obsolete technologies and low-cost assembly line manufacturing. We cannot, and we stand together to oppose the existing energy paradigm that has perpetuated colonialism, inequality, and operated for the benefit of the select few, systematically and structurally excluding significant portions of the population, especially those impoverished and rural areas, from accessing energy. After 6 decades of independence, fossil fuels have failed to power our continent, leaving 600 million without energy access and close to 1 billion inhaling toxic fumes every day from dirty cooking sources. Thus, we call for an immediate halt to the expansion of fossil extraction and advocate for a swift and just transition away from the current production of oil, coal, and gas in Africa, and to charter a path forward towards renewable energy for all. Support is essential for communities on the front lines opposing extraction efforts. With unparalleled solar and wind resources, Africa can fulfill its energy needs through renewable sources that are sustainable, people-centered, community-focused, and environmentally friendly. The transition to a 100% renewable energy framework should prioritize energy sovereignty, democracy, encouraging local and diverse ownership, and we recognize the value for international cooperation, the value of finance, the value around technological transfers that are needed and essential for this transition. Massive growth in financial investment into renewable energy is required in Africa to address the severe underfinance the continent has endured and continues to suffer. This approach aims to move away from the monopolistic tendencies seen in the past fossil fuel-based energy systems and to ensure the protection of human, land, and indigenous rights, especially concerning the extraction and the use of green minerals across the African continent. And now is the time Africa can rise and leverage its green minerals to enhance value and foster intercontinental connections and support the continent's development through the utilization of renewable energy agencies. As we convene in Vienna today, I'll leave you with 3 words. Don't gas Africa. Thank you.
Yeah, next one, Chloe. You can pass the mic maybe. Ah, you got one. I think it's not on.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be here. My name is Chloe Torres, and I am an organizer with Texas Campaign for the Environment. We are a statewide organization dedicated to building political power amongst frontline communities or communities that are in direct proximity to some of the most dangerous fossil fuel facilities in the world. And I am joined by my fellow organizers from Texas and Louisiana. And I mention those 2 regions, those 2 states in particular, because they are the ones that are disproportionately targeted for this liquid gas or fracked methane gas build out that the industry calls LNG. And my direct connection to coming here, besides learning from the brilliance of people like Dean and Amina, is to, well, our plan was to directly confront Cheniere, which is the fracked methane gas export facility that I have in my community, right, who is been hugely harmful to the health of residents in the coastal bend, as well as our the workers at their facility and our local economy, as Cheniere is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. They have received billions of dollars in tax subsidies from local officials as well as state politicians. So we wanted to confront Cheniere, but they said that because of the potential for violence or harm from protesters, they decided to pull out from the event, right? They canceled it, which I find cruelly ironic, as they are causing harm in my community every day, and yet we are not allowed to say whether or not they can continue operating in our community. We just have to deal with it. But we are saying no more, and that is why we are here, to learn strategies, not just to resist the harm of current fossil fuel facilities, but to build sustainable, just alternatives to the fossil fuel industry. Another direct connection to Austria in particular that I wanted to point out is that Cheniere has a long-term contract with OMV, which is partly owned by the Austrian state. And although we aren't going to be directly confronting OMV, we are going to meet with Lucas Hammer of the Green Party today and ask for his solidarity in helping prevent the build out of LNG in Texas and Louisiana. But we know that this isn't just the protection of our community that we are advocating for, right? We are we're trying actually to protect the entire world from the disastrous impacts that these facilities would have on even the most basic of climate goals. So we thank you for coming, and I welcome your questions. Thank you.
Okay, and Marian.
Good morning, everyone. I am here to talk about OMV Petrom's project Neptune Deep, which is a project of gas extraction from the Black Sea in the Romanian economic zone, 160 kilometers from the shore, and I'm here to underline why this project is killing both planet and the people. And it's doing that through emitting 200 million CO2 emissions in a span of 20 years. They are planning to extract the first gas in 2027 and do that until 2047. But besides the CO2, there's going to be also a lot of methane leaks, which we know it is 80 times more potent in warming the globe than the CO2. It's doing that through killing the vulnerable species in the ecosystem of the Black Sea, and we know the dolphins are already included in the red list of the International Union of Conservation of Nature. It's doing that not only, is killing the biodiversity, not only offshore, but also onshore, because the pipeline is going through 2 Natura 2000 sites, where there are very rare species of birds stopping in their migration route. And it's not doing that only through this project. OMV Petrom already has in Romania a very consistent history of polluting communities. The last fine that they received last summer was from receiving a lot of complaints from the local communities in Petrobras, and the environmental guard fined them with 500,000 Romanian lei, which is almost 100,000 euros for polluting the communities. And they've been doing that. If you have like just a normal search on Google, you're gonna see each year over and over again in different sites of Romania going over the legal parameters of pollutants. And they were also found guilty for the death of 2 children on their property. And on top of that, we've seen even on the rigs that they're already having in the Black Sea, that they have a poor maintenance of their infrastructure. They don't care about it. They also don't care about the workers that are gonna work there. So we think, besides the fact that this is a carbon bomb, and we have already the scientific consensus, we have 70 researchers from Austria that have signed a letter, an open letter saying that this project should not go on. So besides knowing this already, we also have proof that OMV Petrom is not a company to trust. And I call on you to spread this narrative and amplify the call to stop Neptune Deep. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the insights. And yeah, I would now open it up if there are any questions in the audience to one of the speakers. Just as an addition, there are also press releases printed out on the seats with quotes of each of the speaker. We have also sent it out via our press lists. So yeah, feel free to use those quotes also in articles. Okay, if there are no questions, there are also no questions in the live stream? No? All right. Then I think you made clear what it is about. And yeah, we also want to emphasize that it's not over. We're going to have a demonstration on Wednesday at 5 p.m. in front of the Marriott Hotel, as well as at 5 p.m. there will be a bicycle demonstration in front of the OMV headquarters. Is there? Okay. Because of delay of the live stream, we just wait for 1 minute if there are any questions in the chat. Otherwise.
Could I perhaps add something?
Yes.
To my statement? Just speaking about OMV Petrom and all those negative impacts that I just mentioned on the atmosphere, on the planet, on the biodiversity, they even have the audacity last year to go to the Romanian government and ask for a reduction in taxes because of the delay of this project, that they will think the profits will not be enough for them, so they ask for a reduction in taxes. And considering this whole context of the negative impact that they're having, they're not paying for it in any way, and on top of this, they also would like to negotiate with the government to pay less taxes. And I think this is unbelievable.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, there's one more question. Maria, could you pass the mic? There's one question.
My question is for Chief Namok. It sounds like there are many injustices and violences associated with LNG projects in so-called Canada and British Columbia. Could you provide an example of one of those?
So I believe the question was about the injustices that are happening to Indigenous people in Canada. What the world doesn't know is that Canada is very deeply controlled by this industry. With us, the Wet'suwet'en, we're the template for the violence to come in that country. We are the template on how the very democracy of that country is going to look in the future. When they create an arm of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and it's referred to as CIRG, Community Industry Response Group, it will change its name to Critical Response Unit. When they create an arm like that, which is militarized strictly to come on to Wet'suwet'en, Gitxsan lands, Indigenous lands, then that is what is threatening the democracy of this country. Canada itself, the Prime Minister, has enacted the Emergency Measures Act. And within that, it opens a door for this unit, which was supposed to be short-term, directed at us, as well as a few of our neighbors. They've made it permanent. And the world should know that this great country of Canada that has this great reputation, you need to challenge that reputation. Because the violence that has come to us, I don't know how many of you stared down the rifle of a gun. I don't know how many of you can step outside and say there's a sniper. We do. How many of you have had canine units come into your house, come through your doors with power saws and axes, burn down your homes? And that is democracy in Canada that you're not learning about. And we are doing this for you. We're doing it for this planet. This earth does not need human, but human sure needs this planet. And everyone needs to raise their voice. Everyone needs to stand together. And everybody must be heard, because everybody on this planet has a right to do that, no matter what your government says, no matter what violence that comes at you. Your strength should come from your heart, and know that you're doing this for the future. I hope that answers your question, Ms. I.
Okay, yes, then thank you very much for everyone who was here. I think most of the speakers and I are still available for some questions after the press conference here in the room. And yes, let's keep this fight going, and we're very happy to see you hopefully on Wednesday at the demonstration. Thanks a lot, and also thanks to the audience online. Bye.